Hello students, welcome back to my channel Easy Tips in Botany. Today we are going to see the important questions, LAQs, SAQs and VSAQs for the backlog students who got the paper that was left out in the IP exams. That is first of all we'll see the first year botany paper, then we'll go with the second year botany paper. Okay, so for the first years, first of all, we will say, because those are somewhat elder to the second years. So the passed out, that is the senior students. So we will take out the first one is the first year's paper. Okay, so in the first year botany paper, that is the most important topics what we have to clear and we have to make sure that we can get more than 45 marks. First of all, okay, for the failures. For the improvement students, I will say again for them, all the 2 LAQs need to be learned and the 6 SAQs and 10 VSAQs. So here, which chapters are the most important one to learn the LAQs chapters? That is the first one will be that is the first LAQ in the list. What we will get is the 5th chapter, that is the morphology of the flowering plants. From that chapter, we will get one LAQ. In that chapter, we are having 3 LAQs together. That is the root modifications, stem modifications question, and the racemose inflorescence, complete racemose inflorescence LAQ. That is the racemose pedicelated and the racemose sessile inflorescence. Both we have to describe about that in that question. So first of all, we will see this first chapter 3 LAQs so that it will be very easy for us to go with the other SAQs and the second LAQ. Okay, first of all, one LAQ, first LAQ, and the 6 SAQs. Then we will come back to the second LAQ, so that all the students, that is the backlog students and the students who wants to get 60 marks and by mistake, otherwise by some other reasons, they didn't score that much of the good score, that is a 60 out of 60 in botany. 60 out of 60 in botany is a very easy task. But here we need to do small efforts. So prepare with that efforts. Are you ready to do those small efforts along with me? Then come to this one and don't forget to give this YouTube link to your friends also, those who wants to get good score as well as to get pass marks. Anyway, this channel and this class is very, very important for them. So first of all, we will go with the first LAQ in the 5th chapter, that is the morphology chapter. That is the first one is the describe about the root modification. So what could be the question here? What they will ask? Define the root modifications. Explain how root is modified to perform different functions. This is the question. So how to write the answer for this type of questions? So here they ask 2 questions. That is the define root modification and the how the root is performing different functions. So here we have to write about the root modification definition and then we have to go with the root modification types. What is the root modification definition? When in some plants, when the roots are performed to do some other functions than the absorption and fixation by changing their shape and structure is called as the root modification. Okay. In other words, what we can say? In some plants, roots change their shape and structure to do to perform some special functions other than absorption and fixation of the plant. These are the 2 types of the definitions. What we can write? Only one definition we have to write. Select your own choice from this one, what I have given right now. Okay, so then we have to say how many types of root modifications are there. Total types of root modifications are of 8. So here what we have to say, 8 different types of root modifications are seen in the plants. Okay, 8 different types of root modifications are there. So the first one is storage roots. Storage roots means the roots which will store the excess amount of the food material in them are called as the storage roots. Because of this storing of the food material, they attain different shapes. Example, when the taproot changes by storing the food material, it will have the three different types of shapes. The cone shape, that is the carrot. Okay, top shape, that is the beetroot. Spindle shape, that is the radish. And adventitious roots, which stores the food material and attains different shapes. First one is the sweet potato, and the second one is the asparagus. Okay, these are the other examples over here. The next root modification is the pillar roots or prop roots. Second one is prop roots or pillar roots. Example, banyan tree. So in this, what we have to write? The roots develop from the heavy branches of the tree, which gives extra additional support for the heavy branches. Okay, these roots will look like a pillar. So these are called as the pillar roots or prop roots. Example, banyan tree. Next one is the stilt roots. Stilt roots, example, sugarcane. Okay, so in this, how the roots will develop? From the first node of the unbranched tall stem, which will give extra support for the stem to fix the stem plant on the soil surface. That is the stilt roots. Those are called as the stilt roots. Okay, so how to draw this diagram? Here, the theory diagram, one line explanation and diagram. For banyan tree, draw like this. This is the banyan tree. Okay, now comes with the stilt roots. In the stilt roots, how to draw the diagram? This is the stem, which is having the nodes. Okay, what I said, from the first node of the stem, unbranched stem, the adventitious roots will arise to fix the plant. This is the first node, and the adventitious roots will arise to fix the plant. That is the stilt roots. Okay, and the fourth one is the pneumatophores. Pneumatophores means respiratory roots. But here we have to write it as pneumatophores. Remember, if you cannot take out this spelling, heading spelling, then you can write it as respiratory roots. Usually, we have to write it as pneumatophores. Okay, pneumatophores. In this one, example is the mangrove plants. Otherwise, the best example is the rhizophora. Rhizophora. So here what happens? Some roots will develop above the soil surface, and these will have the pores on them, which through them they will do the respiration process. Okay, these plants usually grow in the swampy areas. Example, mangrove plants. Otherwise, the best example also you can say there is the rhizophora. Remember this plant for the MSET wise and the NEET wise. This plant name is important for the regular students also. Those who are writing for the MSET exam, this example is very, very important for them. And the fifth root modification is velamen roots. Velamen roots. In the velamen roots, example is vanda. What happens in this? Some plants, some small plants will arise on the heavy branches of the other trees in the dense forest to get proper sunlight. Example, vanda. In this plant, two types of root systems are seen. The first one is the roots which will hang freely on in the air. Those are called as the velamen roots, having the blunt ends for them, and the other roots which will grow into the host branch and highly branched and having the tapering ends. Those are called as the clinging roots. This is the diagram for vanda. These are the clinging roots. These are velamen roots. This is host branch. This is the velamen roots, example vanda. Okay, and the sixth one is the nodular roots, example groundnut. So in that, what happens? The nodular roots. The which lives in a symbiotic association with the highly evolved angiospermic plants to make the nodules in the root system. Those roots are called as the nodular roots. This bacterium will absorb atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into ammonia. This ammonia is very rich in the nodular roots. Okay. And apart from that, this bacterium is getting the shelter from the host plant. There is a symbiotic associationship of this host plant and this rhizobium bacterium. And the seventh one is the photosynthetic roots. Photosynthetic roots. In some plants, roots will grow above the soil and attains green color for them and to do the photosynthesis. And in these plants, especially these plants, will not have the leaves on them, on the stem. That is the photosynthetic roots. So the roots will do the absorption as well as photosynthesis. Okay. Example is the trapa. Easy example, what we can say for the photosynthetic roots. Okay. So these are the most important, otherwise we can say it as the geniophyllum also. This example or this example, whatever you will feel better. Okay. And the last one is the hostorial roots. Hostorial roots, otherwise the parasitic roots. Some plants will grow on the highly developed plants for their food or shelter or for both. Those roots are called as the hostorial roots. And these are the two types of hostorial roots can be seen. That is the other plants which are growing on the host, on the roots, that is the root parasites, and the stem parasites. So usually these are called as the parasitic plants. Okay. So in that also complete parasites are there and the partial parasites are there. So the best example, partial parasites. Partial parasites means the plants which are depending on the host for their food or shelter, only for one thing. Those are the partial parasites. Example, striga. Okay, complete parasites. Complete parasites means these plants are depending on the host for their food and shelter. Those are the complete parasites. That is the best example is the cuscuta. Like this, we have to give the explanation of this answer for this question, and we have to complete it with the respective diagrams then and there itself. So with this, we have finished one LAQ, and we will see the second LAQ in the next class. That is the one what I will share to you. Okay, right. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. Easy Tips in Botany.